And thank you for joining us, Cheryl Mayforth, the Executive Director of The Workplace. When I think of the workplace and the role it plays in the community, obviously helping job seekers comes to mind. But your work and the work the workplace does to help folks goes far beyond just helping job seekers. You also help people remove some of those barriers that might keep them from finding a job or from holding down a job. So can you tell me about some of those barriers and how the workplace can help people through them?
Yes, we're two-faceted. We help job seekers. We also have services to employers. So what we're trying to do is bring everybody together. And so when people come in and they've lost a job, it's a very difficult time for them. So we help them to see their good side and to see that they have worth. And so we will work with people on developing a resume. And that's a hard thing to do, is to be able to put on paper your skills, your ability, your knowledge, that you're a marketable individual. And so we'll help you with that. We'll do mock interviews with you, because sometimes people have a great resume and then we can't figure out why in the world aren't they getting offers. And sometimes it's just what they're saying in an interview or what they're not saying. And so we will do mock interviews with individuals. And then from the employer side, we take in job leads. And so we can match job seekers with those job leads and send people out. We do workshops to help people with interviewing skills, how to dress, how to present yourself. So we also do a workshop for people that are looking to work on Fort Drum. Now that is a little bit difficult. It's not the same as other private sector positions. And so with a partnership with Fort Drum is that we hold a workshop to help people do that. So we have a number of things going on all the time. We do employer recruitments. This is where an employer will come to us and they'll set up shop for about 4 hours, and people can just walk in and meet with these employers. We found that was a good strategy way back in the recession. And so that really became such a mainstay of what we do. Right now, the Department of Corrections comes in once a month, the state police. So these recruiters come in so that they can meet with individuals. We have services for all types of individuals. We have a disability resource coordinator. She is trained, she has done a lot of work in working with individuals that may have those challenges, and that includes justice-involved people. So we have people who are trained in various areas to be able to connect open jobs. Now, as you know, we have a labor shortage. That is something that has happened in America. And so getting people in the right fit and helping individuals, and especially employers, to navigate those waters, because employers will report, I have job openings, I just don't have candidates. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we always navigate. So we're always changing. We go through a period of time where there's more job seekers than there are jobs. Right now there's more jobs than there are job seekers. So we're always having to evolve to meet the needs of the community.
So it's a good time to be a job seeker, but I think some folks find themselves in these situations where there's just something keeping them out of the job market. And maybe that's childcare, for example,
yes.
Or a loved one they have to care for at home, or maybe it's a struggle to find and maintain stable housing. So when we talk about some of those more personal life challenges outside the workplace, but can keep people from finding employment or keeping down a job, how do you help those folks?
Right now the strategy that we're taking is once a quarter we are holding what's called the Workplace Forum. The whole focus is to work with employers to be able to take a look at what we call the wraparound services. And so we just had one on housing, we had one on childcare, and one of the things, and we're going to have one on elder care and those types of things, and we just had housing, is that these are real barriers. They're real barriers to employment. We know that childcare is expensive. We know that there is, it's hard to be able to find childcare. In Jefferson County alone, the ratio is 2 to 1, meaning for every 2 kids, there's only 1 childcare slot. And so when the governor came out with the childcare incentive, we tried from our agency to present that to the general public. And we found we weren't reaching. So we brought employers in and their HR and said, look, this is something you can present to your employees that may come to you to say, I'm having child care issues, meaning costs. And so we gave all of the how to apply for that. You can apply for that online. And that is something you can provide to your employees. And to let them know that this is available. If they could save several $100s a month, it's a definite benefit. We talked about housing. Housing is definitely an issue. It's an issue all over. We just had a number of agencies. Again, we presented this to employers. So if you have an employee that comes to you to say, I'm having issues, is that to give them the resources to say, here are some people you can call. And they can help this employee, hopefully help this employee. And that is something that's the strategy we're taking right now is, letting employers know, look, here's some resources that you can offer your employees that are in crisis and they need help. We've been partnering with United Way and on workplace stability. And because that's the whole key. Keep your employees employed. And many times the stuff, the childcare, the housing, this, that, and the other thing, weighs the employee down so much that they just give up. I'm just going to quit. I can't deal with it. But from an employer standpoint, if you can help that employee through various lines of help. Now, tons of it's out there, but trying to get access to it. And one of the things that we're promoting is the 211. Now, you call and someone answers and you say, I'm having a housing problem and I live in this zip code. They can give you the resources that are available. Jefferson County Community Services has put out on their website a list of those agencies that can possibly help you with it, especially housing, Neighbors of Watertown. Community action planning, and so there are some areas to help. So our strategy is we want to keep people employed.
What are some, when someone says, I'm in crisis, I have a need, and they reach out to some of those agencies you mentioned for support, whether it be for childcare, for housing, et cetera, what are some things they should be prepared for? In terms of coming to the table? It's very much a two-way street, right?
That's correct.
These agencies are going to ask for something in return. How can someone going and seeking out those services make the process easier for themselves?
The biggest thing is if you make the phone call. Now, people come into our office, they're unemployed, they're now at 50% of their average weekly wage, they can become in crisis. And so our staff is also trained to be able to say, all right, we want to keep you in your home. We're going to refer you over to community action planning. Now they deal with trying to keep you in your place. They're not there to try to rent you a place. Neighbors of Watertown, the Housing Authority. So there's a number, but you've got to be prepared to have some documentation. And when you call there, they will tell you what you need to bring, including Department of Social Services. We have a housing unit there, whether it's some other support such as HEAP or SNAP, they're going to tell you you're going to have to bring in certain documentation. Every single program is going to have eligibility rules and, work through the process. And you're not going to walk in someplace and they're not going to write you a check. And that's what people need to be aware, that you're going to have to present documentation. You're going to have to back up and work through it. That's the big thing. And you know, we have a list of food pantries. If you come in and you're desperate, we will connect you with those resources to assist you in making these connections.
You know, so often I think we see government agencies and even employers working in silos, but you talked about this wraparound approach, and I think that's so interesting. Have you found it to be effective so far?
We cannot be successful without partners. And so we work very closely with the Department of Social Services. We work closely with economic development, and many times when there is new opportunity in the community, is that we're connected so that we can help them with recruitment. We can assist in all those types of areas. We work with our outside, you know, partners as well, community action planning, any sort of agency where we can connect people either for resources or for jobs.
It's a new year. There may be some people thinking, I'm looking for a new job, my next opportunity, or I want to get back in the job market. You talked about interviewing earlier and how
Yes.
sometimes you keep wondering, why are they not getting bites, or why are they not getting that job offer? What are some common mistakes that you see people make during the job interview?
Giving, I would say, too much information. Sometimes people don't give enough to be able to, for the employer to say, yeah, you have what I'm looking for. But giving too much information, especially personal information. You know, you say, tell me about yourself, and they go on about, you know, how many kids they have, and it's like, you don't do that. You just talk about your professional experience. That's what they're interested in. And of course, you say there's so many laws out there that you want to be careful about sharing too much. You know, my favorite one, and I've been doing this for a long time, is, you know, what happened to that job? Well, I got fired. And you're like, no. You just simply say, the employer and I, you know, we just weren't connecting, and so it wasn't a good fit, and so we decided to part company. That is a much better answer than startling your interviewer with something crazy like, you know, I punched out my employer. Well, you know, it's probably not going to get you the job. But, you know, working with people to be able to answer those questions. You know, the other favorite one is, you know, what's your weakness? Well, I can't get up in the morning and get to work on time. Well, you know, that's not going to be a selling point. You know, you want to say, well, I push myself and I expect a lot out of somebody else, and I know that that's probably a little bit of a weakness. Well, that's not a bad weakness. So you just want to turn your weakness into a positive. And so many times we have to work with people, you know, making eye contact, you know, what's the difference between, you know, I type 40 words a minute, I type 40 words a minute. So there's a lot of technique to be able to brush up on those interviewing skills. And unfortunately, people don't do it that often. You know, you've been employed someplace for 10 years, it goes out of business. Man, this is a whole new road that you need to travel.
Absolutely. It makes me think about, I think about my dad, who's about to retire, and he's thinking about, do I keep working a little bit after retirement? And I'm wondering if you work with seniors at all who are sort of in that transition phase to maybe find, you know, a new role that keeps them active, but not necessarily full time.
And that's a key. We know that the labor shortage has been created by the baby boomer generation retiring. There's just more of them than there is the Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas. So it's another strategy is look at these people. They got a great work ethic, but they're not going to come back full time. And so trying to create these part-time jobs for those who want to work just a few hours to keep active. So again, that's a strategy for an employer, is that, you know, these are good people, but they're not interested in a 40-hour week anymore. So again, so working with employers is just as important as working with the job seeker, is that we want to bring them together. That's our whole mission. is to bring jobs and people and get them together, and so that, and I've always told our staff, when everybody's employed, we'll turn off the lights, we'll go home.
That's right. Well, let's. Well, I hope you never have to do that and find yourself searching for a job yourself. But it
that's
sounds like
right.
it's a great time to be a job seeker. Cheryl Mayforth, thank you
Yes.
so much. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much.